to another episode of Tell Me More with me, Tony Moore. Hopefully you enjoyed my interview earlier with Nia Sue, who you know best from Dance Moms, a reality TV show, but she is a dancer, singer, actress, and now author, so make sure you check her out. But now I want to introduce my next guest. He is the former editor-in-chief of Entertainment Weekly, and we are going to talk about what you should binge. I mean, we are all quarantined. We all have no place to go, and some of y'all have already complained that you have gone through Netflix, you have gone through Hulu, Disney Plus, and all the streaming services, and you don't know what to watch. So Henry Goldblatt is going to come on, and we're going to talk about and suggest some things that you guys need to be watching. So I'm going to add him in now to chit chat about what you should be watching and binging. Hey, Henry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. It's so good to see you, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Of course. It's so good to see you. How have you been during this whole quarantine? I know you've still been busy.
Yeah, I've been busy, but you know, doing the best I can, like everyone else. Like, turned part of my apartment into a workout gym, and so do that.
Yeah.
Playing with a dog, keeping him busy. Like, it's been okay. How about you?
It's been great. Like, I'm keeping myself busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing some other work that I need to get done. So it's great. It's the staycation that I have always asked for.
That's one good way of looking at it.
So you were the former editor-in-chief over at Entertainment Weekly. First of all, how did you even get involved in Entertainment Weekly? Like, how did that come about?
Oh God, I've always had a huge passion for TV and movies and music and that type of thing. And to be perfectly honest, like I was in the right place at the right time. I had been at Fortune magazine for a few years, which was a sister publication, and a job came over at Entertainment Weekly, and I applied for it, and thankfully they wanted me, and I had a great career there. I was there for 17 years.
Oh my gosh. I feel like because, you know, pop culture and TV and film, and like it's always consistently happening. Was it like stressful keeping up with all the things that were going on in pop culture?
Yeah, for sure. Though the thing is, like, I always said, like, if I'm a good boss, then I've assembled a staff in which people have varied interests. So, for example, I hate horror movies more than anything else in the world. But there was a guy on the staff. He loved horror movies. It was his full-time job to watch horror movies. And if he said, Henry, you know what, this is a great movie, this needs to be covered, I would trust him and not have to watch it myself because, God, I don't want to. But so it was really hiring a staff and delegating those people and trusting those people in their tastes and stuff like that.
Yeah. When you became editor-in-chief, like what was your goal, or how did you want to see the magazine grow?
That's in two ways. First of all, I want to make sure that the magazine not only existed in print, but existed wherever anyone consumed entertainment. So digitally, on your mobile device, on radio, with audio and podcasts, and video. And so I want to make sure that the brand's tentacles were everywhere and that you could experience the brand wherever you wanted to. And then secondly, like, entertainment and pop culture should be fun. Like, I'm not making, this isn't brain surgery. Like, I don't want to, like, it shouldn't be laborious and like over talky and overthinky. And so the motto I used for the content was smart, funny, and first. Like, I wanted to make sure you got content that you couldn't get anywhere else, and that it was smart and funny. You might learn something and laugh.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, pop culture is all fun. Like, I mean, with all the things that happen in it, like, it's just meant to be fun news that you take in and you either laugh with or laugh at or just simply enjoy, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What were some of your like favorite moments like working at Entertainment Weekly, and like, you know, do you have like a favorite article or cover or anything that you've done?
Yeah, there were two things that stand out to mind. One's going to date myself a little bit, and then one will be much more relevant to everybody else. The first that's going to date myself is we used to do these cast reunions, and growing up, I watched the Carol Burnett show and like think of her as such an icon. And we reunited that cast with her and Vicki Lawrence and Tim Conway, and meeting her was such a pinch me moment. Like, I had a similar experience with Mary J. Blige, actually, when I met her. I couldn't form sentences. It was just like, oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, I love you, which was not entertaining to anybody. And both of them were very gracious about it. And then something you and I were talking about, we started doing an LGBTQ issue every year, and we had we were the first national publication to put RuPaul on the cover. Some local ones, of course, like local medias have, but we were the first national publication to do so, and I was really proud to do that and psyched to do that.
Like, that was such a major moment. I think it, for so many people, not only just in the LGBTQIA community, but like just everywhere, when we saw this cover and with RuPaul, and it was just kind of like a wow. Like, I think we all felt like we arrived. Mother is on the cover, and now the doors are just going to open up from us. But it was an amazing looking cover, and I think so many people talked about it and were so proud about it, and like it was really like a monumental thing for the community.
Well, it's so funny. The picture came together very quickly. We knew we wanted to do RuPaul in a very authoritative stance, which is why we put him behind on a presidential podium and like looking like a president. And so then you have to come up with a cover line that matches the cover image itself. So I was on with my friend, and all of a sudden, red, white, and Ru came to mind, and I did the gay gap. I was like, oh, that's it.
Which, like, the theme of that cover kind of carried over into season 12, because now that's all like kind of political-esque, and like that their whole theme went into that. So it all kind of, see how pop culture just all ties in together.
It all ties together, yeah, totally.
It's a beautiful marriage. But okay, so you are like when we were talking about coming on here, and you were like, I can share like some things for people to watch. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And it comes at such a perfect time, because I think now that we are in week 3, almost week 4 of being in quarantine, I've already heard friends of mine say, I'm tapped out. Like, I don't know what to watch. I've watched everything. Netflix is now not asking if I'm still watching, but like asking like what else you want to watch, because you've watched everything. So what can you, oh, hi, Ben Roman. What can you recommend? And we'll just go through the services. So we'll start with Netflix. Like, what can you recommend for people to watch on Netflix now that everyone has binged everything, including Tiger King?
So I'm going to be very selective here. Like, you can always DM me at Henry Goldblatt if you want like more in-depth recommendations. But like for a top line thing, I just want to give a couple things that people will remember and hopefully check out. The first is a show called You, which is based on the books by Carolyn Kepnes. And it's 2 seasons long, 10 episodes a season. It's a very easy binge, and it's almost designed to be binged. It's about this guy named Joe Goldberg, who's a serial killer, and how he becomes obsessed with these women. And God, it's like popcorn candy addictive. It's paced very well, like it's suspenseful, and I need to give a shout out to my friend Carolyn Kepnes, who wrote the books that the show is based on, because success couldn't happen to a nicer human being in the entire world. And she's just created this world. The first season takes place in New York. The second season takes place in LA. Both seasons are very reflective of the cities that they're in. It's an easy, but if you start it today, you'll be done by Sunday. It's so edible and easy.
Like, I have a couple of friends who actually talked about that, and talked about that the show was like really good, and I haven't tuned in yet, but now that I have all the time in the world, I guess I can add that to the binge list. It's interesting because they were saying about how that person becomes obsessed and kind of stalks these people, and I know for me, like, I feel like I have to be in the mindset, because then I'll know me. I'll be like looking over my shoulder to see if someone is watching me.
Totally. Well, first of all, Penn Badgley does an amazing job with the role. He's extraordinary. And secondly, it's not scary. He's a creepy character, and he sort of ingratiates himself into these women's lives. So it's not people jumping out of a bush so much as like you can't. Can you really trust your boyfriend or girlfriend? It's more like, can you trust the people close to you?
Yeah.
So you are safe in your house, I promise.
Okay, good. All right, what else does Netflix have that we should binge watch?
The second thing I'd recommend, and it's funny, I'm doing some judging for the Peabody Awards this year, and so I had to revisit this show for a second time in order just to rejudge it, and it's so good. It's called Dead to Me, and it stars Christina Applegate, and she meets this other woman in a grief support group, and it's about how their relationship unfolds from there, because she has just lost her husband. It came out around the same time as Russian Doll. It dropped around the same time as that. So I think it got lost in the shuffle when it dropped. It's
Yeah.
so much better than Russian Doll and so compelling and twisty. And Christina Applegate is giving a performance of her career, regardless of what you thought of her from Married with Children or whatever else she's done. Like,
Yeah.
she's an extraordinary actress, and it explores female friendship, female anger, and female grief in a way that I haven't seen another show do.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like another friend of mine watched that and said that he really enjoyed it and that it was. Is it humorous as well? There's like
Yeah, it's dark humor. It's very dark humor, but you'll absolutely laugh. It's also shot in California, so if you're feeling claustrophobic in your house, like there's so much beautiful house porn in it and so much beautiful like Malibu skies and stuff like that. It'll make you feel good.
Yeah. I mean, what was the last thing I saw Christina Applegate in? Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That was like I recently went to a screening of that on the rooftop cinema. And I remember back in the day, it was like I watched that movie like a couple of times. So it was nice to like revisit that and go, that's like Christina Applegate. Like, wow. Like in the famous line, I'm right on top of that, Rose. So I love that.
She's great. She also she's been very open in talking about the breast cancer that she's a breast cancer survivor in real life, and they integrate that plot line into the show as well, her real life experiences, which was very moving and touching as well.
Yeah. Okay. Adding that to the queue. What's next that you suggest over in the Netflix land?
Over Netflix, if you need like just a warm blanket of a show, please like drop everything you're doing and turn it into the Great British Baking Show. Which is just, there's 7 seasons. It's 7 seasons of deliciousness. Like, it's so nice to see a reality show where the contestants support each other, where they're doing something creative, and the hosts aren't out to create drama and conflict. Like, and everyone's they're also polite and just so lovely. It's not what we're used to with American reality shows.
Yeah.
I used to watch episodes before I went to bed because I found it like so soothing and like I'd fall asleep really well.
Yeah, the thing with me, I get so hungry watching like
That's really
TV shows and stuff, and then it's like you want what they made like right now. Like if there was an option where the TV could like eject like the thing that they just made, so you can try it too. Like I would subscribe to that because a lot of the stuff that they make on there looks so good. Like I would just sit there hungry the entire time.
Tony, I'd say we're probably 20 to 25 years away from that, but it will happen in our lifetime.
Somebody is making that happen. I used to, back when I used to play Nintendo, like the original Nintendo, and I would play like Wheel of Fortune, I would always wish that at the end of the game, it would eject the money that you want.
I think you're close to getting ganache taken out of your TV any second now. Oh, hey, Dalton Ross. One of my coworkers, Dalton Ross, just joined. Hey, Dalton.
Oh, hi. Okay, so like I feel like I'm kind of behind on the streaming services. Like I still have cable. So like I rarely like go to like Netflix and things like that. However, because I love reality TV, the 2 things that I have streamed on Netflix and hopefully everyone else has by now is Love is Blind and The Circle.
Can we talk about The Circle for a second?
Yes.
Because it's like the perfect show to watch when you're in quarantine, because for those of you who don't know, these contestants are basically in quarantine. They can only communicate with their competitors via an online chat, like an AOL chat room from 1994.
Yes.
And and some people are catfishing the other contestants and some people are really themselves, and it feels very much like our current life.
Yes. And like the one thing that I liked about it was because it's kind of puts you in the frame of mind of Big Brother, except you're not in a big house. You're just kind of to yourself, but you can still like communicate with other people. So I felt like that was great, but also I felt like the lesson that you eventually kind of get from it is just sometimes authenticity. Because like when the people who were like catfishing people, which was hilarious, it was hard for them to even keep up with their lives. So it's interesting to see how they kind of weave through this whole like competition, and you like fall in love with some characters, you like one eye some characters, you kind of feel sorry for some others. So if people haven't watched The Circle, like they need to, and you definitely will like it if you like Big Brother or any type of reality TV.
And Tony, you went met one of the contestants, didn't you, in person after it was filmed?
I did. So like
Yeah.
literally 2 days after I had completely binge watched it, because like for an entire weekend I was watching The Circle, and I met one of the contestants. I don't want to say who I met because I don't want to give anything away, but they were very nice and very kind and exactly how they were on the show. So so yeah, it was a great experience to watch it and then meet them in person. So it was really good.
That's awesome.
Can we talk about Love is Blind though?
Of course we can.
Um, I was already a fan of Married at First Sight.
Yes.
So when this came about, I was like, okay, let me give this a try. Um, but the way that they did it was so interesting in like the pods and only being able to like talk to them, and the only way that you can see them is if you ask them to marry you. And I'm like, what kind of dating show is this? Now, granted, I'm like, that's great because it takes the whole superficiality out of dating. However, when that thing opens, you still want to like the person who's across from it. So again, it's like another journey that you take with these people through the dating process, through the proposal, through like, up until the wedding. And it is a nail biter. And when I tell you, like, if you have not hopped on the Love is Blind train, you are late.
Um, Tony, I don't want to speak personally nor put you on the spot or anything like that. But again, it feels like another show for our times because I know I have a lot of friends who are going on virtual dates and they have not met, like may meet people over the apps or whatever, and and go on a FaceTime date or go on a Zoom date. And I mean, it's a little different because on that show you don't see them. But again, like we may be getting out of quarantine and all these people going on dates and meeting people in person. They're gonna be like, what the heck was I thinking?
Everyone is in a quarantine state of mind.
Yeah.
So like things can be different my friend actually just did a very similar show to Love is Blind, called DC is Blind, and they did it virtually. Like they did it through Zoom, and like, you kind of talk to people and pick, and it dwindles down to like your final pick. Which I thought was great. He unfortunately, his pick didn't pick him. But it's just interesting now that we have time, like people are on the apps and people are looking and people are more open to like finding people. But I hope that continues and that people are not just looking for the hottest thing around, but they're actually taking time to get to know people.
Yeah, agree completely.
Yeah. Okay. On from Netflix, let's travel over to Hulu. What do you recommend over on Hulu?
Again, I'm going to keep my recommendations really tight to 3 shows, and 2 of them are newer and one of them is a vintage show. The first is just dropped this week. It's called Miss America, and it stars listen to this cast. It's Kate Blanchett, Rose Byrne, Elizabeth Banks, Uzo Aduba, and Margot Martindale. And it's about Phyllis Schlafly, who was a very huge opponent of the Equal Rights Amendments in the 70s, and it takes place all in the 70s. It's a story that's been told a lot before, not particularly in this particular way. It's on FX as well, in case you don't have Hulu, and they've screened the first 3 episodes. I thought it was terrific and really interesting.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen clips of it, and it has piqued my interest, but I'm still going through my DVR. So
I don't blame you. The second show, which is a comedy, is called Rainy, and this is one I'm so embarrassed to say I missed the first time around when it came out because it's been out for almost a year. It reminds me a lot of Atlanta in that it has a very singular point of view. It's told from the point of view of this guy named Ramy, who is Muslim American, lives in New Jersey, and is trying to balance his very old-fashioned parents with current society in like New Jersey and New York, and how like he's partying one minute and then at a mosque the next, and trying to please his very religious parents, and also trying to have sex with women. And it's very the culture class is terrific. And the mother on the show, and I'm forgetting her name, unfortunately, she also is the mother on the show on Succession, and sorry, I don't have her name right in front of me, but she's a terrific actress.
Yeah. I heard a lot of buzz about that, about Raimi, and I like shows where you can like kind of journey with the person and kind of can relate to the person. So I feel like I like those shows. I like those point of view shows because I feel like you get to learn about, different people and different cultures and backgrounds and like what they go through.
Exactly, and it feels like a very singular point of view. Like, I couldn't make that show. Like, there are plenty of shows that like anyone could go off and write. This is a show that this man in particular is talking from a very autobiographical perspective, and it's truly his point of view.
Yeah. What else should we be watching on Hulu?
Okay, and the last thing on Hulu that like I will jump up and down to the day I die about is called Happy Endings. It was a sitcom from 2011 to 2013. It stars Casey Wilson and Adam Pally and Damon Wayans Jr. It's about six friends in Chicago. It is one of the most well-written things still to this day. I can't say enough wonderful things about it. It's 3 seasons. You'll watch it all in 2 nights because it's that funny. And just go enjoy.
Damon Wayans is just Damon Wayans Jr. is just like his father. He's so hilarious and so funny, and they look so much alike. It's like scary. It's
crazy. If you go back and watch him in Living Color, and see then David Wayans Jr. on Happy Endings, they look exactly the same. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's completely bananas. Okay, so we've covered Netflix. We've covered Hulu. I will. Side note. I have. I just got Disney Plus.
Oh, nice.
And I have literally just went through the entire 3 seasons of That's So Raven.
And how do you feel about?
Huh?
How do you feel about yourself after that?
You know what? I feel great and nostalgic because I loved That's So Raven. So it was nice to actually just sit and watch all the episodes. I have yet to obtain those psychic powers like I wanted to. But it was fun. Looking at the stuff that's on Disney Plus, when you need to just go to a happy place and because you can't go to Disney because we're in quarantine, Disney Plus works.
Again, I think we're 25 years away from the TV delivering psychic powers to you once you watch That's So Raven.
Listen, I got a list of things that I want the TV to deliver to me. Food and money are on the top 2. All right, so there's some other places and some other great shows. So you mentioned a great show on CBS All Access.
Yeah, and anyone who knows me is going to think this is the most predictable thing in the world. The Good Wife has this spin-off called The Good Fight. It stars Christine Baranski's character, Diane Lockhart. She goes to work for a predominantly African-American firm in Los Angeles after she's the victim of a Ponzi scheme. She thinks she's going to retire. She can't retire. She goes to work for this firm. It is so good. It is so topical. It's one of the only shows that sort of takes on Trump head on and skewers and wrecks him. It's outstanding. She's amazing. Audra McDonald's on the show. Cush Jumbo co-stars as well. Delroy Lindo. It's an extraordinary cast. It's funny. It's topical. It's poignant. It's sad. It's terrific. And I beg, borrow, and steal to get CBS All Access and watch it. It just started its 4th season last week. If you DM me, maybe I'll give you my password. It's that good. I want people to know. I wanted people to know how to get it. It's amazing.
Listen, you have to let me know who DMs you for that password because let me tell you, that's kind of how I have some of my streaming services. Thank you to my friends who have allowed me to use their passwords. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're from any of these streaming services, it didn't happen.
It never happened. Allegedly. It allegedly happened.
Allegedly. They're family. I go in halfsies. Now, what about you recommend a show on Comedy Central?
Yeah, and then there's one show on Comedy Central that is, honest to God, was the funniest show of 2019 in my book. It's called The Other Two. It is It's about the two older siblings of a Justin Bieber like pop singer. So this
Yes.
pop singer, he's like 15 years old on the show. They're in their late 20s, early 30s. They live in New York City. They're total screw ups, and how they sort of like try to capitalize on the fame of their younger brother.
Yeah.
Molly Shannon plays their mother, and she's doing the same thing, and she's hysterical. I was just looking. I don't know if it's on a stream. I know you can get it like Comedy Central on demand, and maybe it's streaming on ComedyCentral.com. I don't know if it's on any other of the streaming services. It's worth seeing through the commercials for. It's so good.
Yeah.
So well written, and it's created and written by two of the former head writers of Saturday Night Live during like Tina Fey's era. Like they're super funny.
I saw the preview for that, and it did look interesting to know like what's life like for like the siblings of someone that is like a viral sensation.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
It's like I would love to see, because we always get stories about the viral sensation and what life is like for them, and we're like, we get it. You get the fame, you get the notoriety. That's great. But what about the people? The other people in the family, and how they have to deal with it, and how they have to deal with all of the hoopla.
And it's so funny because the mother and the two older siblings on the show like are so craven and so desperate for fame in their own right that which is where a lot of the humor comes from. And as I said, Molly Shannon's wearing a Kate Gosselin type wig. Like she's amazing.
I feel like in my eyes, Molly Shannon can do no wrong. Like she
100% agree.
Will consistently make you laugh in whatever it is that she's doing. She's always so memorable in all the projects that she's worked on.
100% agree. And she this is no different. I think there's a second season that's already been shot, so I'm assuming and hoping that it's going to come out very soon.
Yeah. A new streaming service, Quibi, just got released earlier this last week. I've ventured into it. Have you looked at it at all?
I've seen little clips of stuff here and there, but I haven't dug deeper. I need to, for sure.
Yeah, I went ahead and signed up because it's free for 90 days, and I'm like, this is perfect because we're here for a good little minute, so it'll be nice just to like take a break from everything else and kind of dive into what they're doing on there, which apparently everything is meant to be watched on your phone. And
it's all short programming.
All the episodes are under 10 minutes. I really just want to see Chrissy's Court with Chrissy Teigen, because I just love her personality and how she is, and I'm pretty sure to put her in like a court situation, like as a judge, I think that's going to be hilarious. And I feel like there's something there for everyone too. And they even brought back some classics like Singled Out, now with Keke Palmer and another gentleman, and then Punk'd with Chance the Rapper. So I think it'll be an interesting venture to kind of go through and see what they're doing on that service.
Keke Palmer is another one like Molly Shannon who I feel can do no wrong.
Oh my, you know what it is about Keke? She seems so loving and so down to earth, and that she's very humbled by all of the opportunities that she's been given, and that like if you met her on the street, she would be the exact same way.
She's also so quick. She's on that talk show with Michael Strahan, and I watch that occasionally, and she's so quick, and I admire her sense of humor.
Yeah, I do too. All right, so if you've had enough of watching, podcasts are now the thing as well. And I think people like a different medium to tune into if, they're just tired of like watching TV and watching show after show after show. It just gives a little overload. But I know that you are a lover of podcasts too and have some recommendations there. So what are some podcasts that we should be tuning into?
Okay, so I've got one that's super funny, one that's super serious, and one that's in between.
I love that you always have a variety so that you can reach out to to all different types of people. See, this is why you were in charge of entertainment weekly.
Well, of
The
course,
show.
because sometimes you're in the mood for one thing, or sometimes you're in the mood for the other.
Yeah.
I'll start with the super serious one. It's called Gangster Capitalism. It is about it's about the college admission scandal,
Mm-hmm.
and what this podcast does differently than all the other reporting about the college admission scandal is these dramatic reenactments of the phone conversations that like Felicity Huffman and the other parents had with the guy who was orchestrating them. And I mean, the conversations are kind of funny, but like they do deep dives into this. They talk to all sorts of attorneys, and they do a big profile of a guy named Rick Singer, who was the mastermind behind all the college admission stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had followed that story like crazy, like everybody did, because I was obsessed. But I even have learned stuff from this podcast. I think it's a quick 10 episodes. If you're interested at all in that story, fascinated you, I definitely recommend.
Yeah. When all that came out, I was like, really? Like, who would pay for their child to like get into a university? Like, you guys just don't believe in hard work anymore?
And not only did they pay for their children, but in many cases, the children didn't know. Like, they had this scheme where the child would be sitting in the room taking the SATs. With an individual proctor, because they would fake some stuff to say the child had a learning disability.
Yeah.
They would finish the test half hour early, unbeknownst to the child. Then the child turns in his or her test. The proctor, who's a genius, then goes in and like redoes all the tests essentially to get a higher score. So the child never knows because he or she just thought that they finished the test, and the parents have paid this guy Rick Singer all sorts of money to do it. It's insane. What happened there is insane.
That's beyond crazy. Like, first of all, I could never imagine that, like, my parents would never do anything like that. They'd be like, listen, you need to go to school, you need to learn, you need to study, because the money that we're about to pay someone else to fake it, like, we need that to actually pay for your school.
For college, exactly.
Yeah, like, we don't have to, it's just beyond me. And especially to, like, these kids who obviously didn't have, like, that great of interest in going in. It's like, all that for what? Nothing. Oh, and side note, I didn't meet Felicity Huffman, but I saw her maybe like a month or so before everything like came out and happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She came to because she was a judge on RuPaul's Drag Race,
mm-hmm.
and she came to Mickey's nightclub, and I was helping out with like the Drag Race viewing, and she was sitting there quietly watching herself on the show, and I was like, oh, what a lovely woman.
I met her. I was the first writer ever on the set of Desperate Housewives before it launched. I like watched the first episode be filmed, and back that like she wasn't the nicest of the four of them, but she was like at that point the most seasoned of an actor and was very professional and lovely. I didn't think she'd go on to try to get her kids in college illegally, right. But who knows?
The whole thing is so bizarre. Okay, so check that podcast out if you want to know more about that.
The second one is we were talking about reality TV earlier, and this podcast is about the very first reality TV show, which is nobody ever thinks of, which is Cops. Cops is over 30 years old now. It still airs new episodes on Fox.
Yes.
And this show takes Cops, which is a ridiculous show, and gives it almost an academic treatment. It's called Headlong: Running from Cops, and it talks about sort of the racial profiling that goes on in the show, the police brutality, how the towns and the police departments are in cahoots because the towns benefit, like Portland, Oregon, or Seattle benefits from having cops there, the TV show there, and how now some towns are banning the show from their municipality because because they've seen what goes on. It talks about how the people who appear on the show are coerced into signing waivers in order to have their faces shown. It's fascinating, and you'll never watch Cops the same again. In fact, you'll never watch any of these shows the same again.
It's so interesting that you say that Cops was the first reality show, because I actually thought it was Real World.
No, Cops is actually older than Cops started in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And Real World was the early 90s. Yeah, it's
No,
crazy.
yeah, I never consider like it. I would obviously fail in a trivia thing because I would have said real world and not cops. And totally would not have thought of cops. That's interesting. Okay, so that podcast was Headlong, Running from the Cops. If you're interested in that, all right. What's the
And then
next
the
one?
last one I will recommend is some one that friends of mine do. Danielle Schneider and Casey Wilson host this podcast called Bitch Sesh. It's called the
Mhm.
Real Housewives Roundup. Um, you don't have to be into Real Housewives just to appreciate the podcast because they are so ridiculously funny. They also, the first 10 or 15 minutes of the show, what I really like is that they talk about their lives, and they're both young moms, and like what it's like to be a young mom on the East Side or the Valley, and balancing work and career and motherhood. And so there's that. And then they just get in and say all the things about the housewives that you want to say to friends, but either don't have friends around or didn't think of it at that point. It's called Bitch Sesh. Like it's my go-to podcast every week.
Yeah. Oh, I should probably tune into that because I love the Housewives franchise. Like I consistently watch it. So it'd
Which
be
are your
nice to have.
favorites?
Ooh, okay. My top two
Hmm.
are Atlanta and Beverly Hills.
Nice. May I suggest Potomac to you? It's a sleeper,
Oh,
but it
yes.
is so good.
Oh, no. I've watched Potomac since season one.
Okay.
And this season, I feel like it's about to be a lot of drama.
Um,
A lot.
is there a more gorgeous housewife than Giselle on the entire franchise?
I mean, going through them, no. Like, I feel like but it's because she kind of puts you in the frame of mind of Beyonce. I think with the color of her hair and like skin and eyes, like,
True.
in
I
her,
think Vanessa Williams, actually.
yeah,
I feel like Giselle
yeah.
looks at Vanessa Williams and be like, I should have had that career.
Yeah. That should have been me. I
Yes.
should have been up there in the pageant. I should have been on Desperate Housewives. I should
Hmm.
have.
Ugly
And
Betty.
yeah, yeah. No,
I
but
should have saved the best for last.
there's something about Giselle that like she stirs the pot, but she's not the one always holding the spoon. She
That's a
kind of,
really nice analogy. 100% agree.
yeah, yeah. She kind of goes, "Hey, how about this?" and then like passes it on.
Yeah. And Karen, of course, just has the best one-liners in the world.
I still remember the first one she did from season one, which is I think it was something like they can come for me all they want, but they just can't find me. I love it. Did you watch Beverly Hills
um,
this
I,
past week?
I have. I did not see Beverly Hills. No, I haven't seen it this past week, unfortunately. This season looks bonkers though, and I can't wait.
Well, I feel like it's going to center all around the whole drama with Denise Richards and Brandi Glanville.
And I am there for all of it.
I am too, and I kind of wish that Denise would just address it, but I feel like she's kind of running away from it instead of just being like,
Yeah.
this is what happened.
Um, and maybe we'll get that at the reunion.
Maybe. Oh, speaking of reunions, Atlanta is ending Sunday.
Yeah.
And they have their reunion. Like normally they shoot the reunion like a couple of weeks before the finale, but now with Miss Rona in the way, I think they're gonna have to do like a unique reunion where I think it might be through Zoom, maybe. I don't know how I feel about that. Like I like when they're all in the room and they're all able to throw shade at each other. Like that's what I'm gonna miss. Can you still hear me? Uh-oh. You there? Did your sound go out, Henry?
Yeah, now it's back. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're talking about a virtual reunion versus a live reunion, correct?
Yeah, with Atlanta, because I think they're gonna have to do a virtual one.
I kind of want to see what they're left to when they do their own hair and makeup. That's like,
there's only two people, and I've seen them already on Watch What Happens Live that are going to be fine, and that's Portia and Cynthia.
Yeah.
Everyone else, we may have to pray for them.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of turbans.
Yes, a lot, and a lot of just like ponytails that
for sure.
Because everybody can slick back and give like some edges, but like not everyone can do like the big, or maybe wigs. They'll pull out one of their wigs and they'll do that.
Yeah, for sure. All I could think of is like Shirley MacLaine, and like in terms of endearment or whatever, when she's like putting the turban on and starts to do her makeup.
Oh my! It's like it's so interesting to see how television has like had to embrace the new norm of like doing things from home and Zoom and all that kind of stuff. Like it's been really interesting to see how everyone's kind of handling it.
Did you watch the Saturday Night Live last week where they did it all virtually?
I didn't, but I heard that people still enjoyed it.
Yeah, there was something really comfortable about seeing them all, and like some of the sketches were absolutely horrible, and then some of them were like kind of funny. They did a parody of a Zoom meeting that like could have appeared on regular Saturday Night Live. It was really funny, and like everything that you think of with the cliche faults of a Zoom meeting. It was great.
Yeah, and then there's one other show.
I was corrected. It's Postcards from the Edge, not Terms of Endearment. Yes, and thank you, James. It's
James Locke Jr., my good buddy. What other? All Rise, I think that's on CBS, is doing an episode where they're gonna film it themselves, and it's gonna be about the Rona and everything like that. And so I'm interested to see how they do that. Like,
I like that show, but even more than the show, there's a woman who stars in it named Simone Missick, who even if this show doesn't make her a star, then whatever she's in next is going to. She's such an amazing actress, and I think she's great on this. She was great on Luke Cage as well. So I hope for good things for her.
Yeah. Well, Henry, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad that we got to do this, and I'm glad you got to share like your knowledge of like TV and what people should be watching, especially if they have run out of things to watch. Like I'm very happy that we were able to give some suggestions to people.
Oh, Tony, anytime. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And we'll have to do this again because like once people watch all the stuff that you recommended, they're going to need new stuff.
Yep, I will happily come back whenever you'd like me to.
Oh, thanks, Henry.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you.
Talk soon. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. I absolutely adore Henry. That was super kind of him to come on and just give you guys some suggestions on what to watch. He had some great suggestions on Netflix, Hulu, on CBS All Access, Comedy Central, and of course some wonderful podcasts that you guys should check out. If you missed all of that, guess what you got to do? Rewatch this whole episode because you definitely don't want to miss his recommendations. So thank you so much, Henry, for coming on. And if you guys want to know more, just make sure you follow him at Henry Goldblatt and tune into a new episode of Tell Me More with me, Tony Moore, coming up in an hour, where we are going to talk about your virtual happy hours with Paul, and he's going to be great. So tune in. Thank you guys for showing up, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.